Welcome back, everyone. Doug Burson here. And so today I've got an extremely important topic for small business owners. We've gotten a lot of questions on this. And so today I'm going to cover BOI, or the Corporate Transparency Act. Now, we've been talking to you guys about this for, I don't know, at least a year. About 8 months ago, I put together a video going over what it was, why we're doing it, and for the most part, all the stuff in there is still pretty accurate. So if you haven't watched that, you might want to take a look at it as well, get you up to speed. But back then, we were saying, I think we should wait. And the reason is because this feels like an unreasonable thing to expect small business owners to do. And the penalties are incredibly high. And that's why we have to discuss this. Unfortunately, with all the distractions with the election and other things, this hasn't been addressed. It still may. But for now, we're now at a point where we can't put this off any longer. We have got to deal with it. And back then I told you we'll come up with a plan and a solution. We have done that. But I'm going to give you a quick rundown. Like I said, if you want more, check out our other video on this topic. But what is this? Well, this is the Corporate Transparency Act. It was passed in 2021, and there you go, right there on the first page. Sorry, this thing is 59 pages long of FAQs. I'm going to try to hit the important ones for you to get you up to speed quickly and not waste your time. But A2, in 2021, Congress passed the Corporate Transparency Act. What was their purpose? The purpose was that they felt like there's a lot of money laundering and bad actors in the small business community. So this is targeted specifically at small business. So many other things that we see over the years, small business gets carved out, they can be excluded, they don't have to do it because it's a lot of extra paperwork. This one was targeted at you if you're a small business owner. What does that mean? Well, quite simply, what it means is if you have less than $5 million in revenue and you're an LLC or a corporation, an S corporation, this is you. And so you have to pay attention. What are the penalties? The penalties started off at $500, but they've been indexed. So now it's $591 a day. For simple math, that's $600 and $10,000 and 2 years in prison if you willfully put the wrong information on this form. So this thing's no joke. And so I'm going to cover some of the FAQs to try to help you out. I want to say right up front, you can do this on your own if you want to by going to FinCEN's website and filing the report. You can do that. There is on their website, there is a 59-page FAQ that goes over frequently asked questions. If you're going to do it, go through all 59 pages. Make sure you understand, because if you do this wrong, the penalties are ridiculous. There's also, I think it's 57 pages, and we'll reference that as we go through some of these questions, that is a small business guide to help you go through and decide if this applies to you. So there's roughly 120 pages of stuff to help you do this. So if you want to do this yourself, by all means, do it. But the problem is this is due January 1st of 2025. We'd hoped for either for it to be struck down or for there to be some relief or something. It hasn't happened. So let's just get into it now and go through some things. So one, $5 million. And you have filed anything with the Secretary of State to register your company, what does that mean? It's kind of vague. We know for sure it's partnerships, it's S Corps, it's C Corps. Does that mean a DBA? I don't know. And unfortunately, as you go through these FAQs, if you do it on your own, you're going to find over and over and over the FAQ gives you the answer of, it depends, or maybe. So that's where it is. If you get into a situation and you don't know, at that point we probably need to contact an attorney because we're interpreting law. And so we may need an attorney to help it. Unfortunately, they may not know either because this is a brand new deal. There's no court cases. We don't know. So there's a lot of risk, a lot of penalties, but let's go through some stuff, and then there at the end, I'll let you know about our solution and what we can do to help you if you are a client. We're not doing this to the general world, but if you're already a client, we do have a way to help you out on this. But let's go through it. Number one, we already talked about that. There's the Corporate Transparency Act. What does BOI mean? It means beneficial ownership information, which we'll get to more about what that means here in a minute. Let's see, what are some other ones I highlighted? C1. Who is required to report beneficial ownership information? There are two types of companies. There is a domestic reporting company. That's what I already told you. That's corporations, limited liability companies. And this is where it gets kind of, I'm not 100% sure on what all this is going to include, but it says any other entities created by filing of a document with the Secretary of State or any similar office in the U.S. Does that include a DBA? Not an attorney. So I can't say for sure. I don't think it does, but it may be worth asking your attorney. But I think if it's just a DBA, we may be okay, but I'm not willing to stand on that. So if that's your situation, check with your attorney. Foreign reporting companies. That's not really my clientele, so I'm not going to spend much time on that. But that's corporations and limited liability companies from a foreign company that have registered to do business in the U.S. If that's you, you're going to need to get more help, but that's not what this video is for. Moving on. There are some exemptions. And once again, this bill is targeting small business. The people that are excluded, they tend to be companies that have to register and are being monitored by another agency in the government. Think insurance companies, think accounting firms because of State Board of Accountancy, think registered investment advisors, things like that. And then also large companies, people over $5 million in revenue. If you're over $5 million in revenue, this isn't you. What does that really mean? That means for almost all of us, you're in this, okay? That's almost all small business. This is you. You're going to have to comply, but that is C2. You can look at that, see if you qualify for any of those. But most of you, you're still on the hook. What about C5? Yeah, we covered that. That's the $5 million. We'll skip that one. Like I said, I'm trying to save you guys' time here. There's just so much. And if you're going to do this yourself, you really do need to take the time to go through all of these pages and make sure you understand it, because it's new. It was written by people who aren't necessarily tax people, so they're coming from a different angle, so you can't make assumptions based on your previous knowledge. This is different. So who is a beneficial owner? That's anybody who either directly or indirectly exercises substantial control. Well, what's that? That's something else. We'll get to that. But basically, if you own or control at least 25% of the company, and you're a real living, breathing person, an individual. This isn't trust estates. This is an individual person. How many owners can you have? A bunch, but with a 5 million threshold, if you've got a bunch, you're probably over 5 million. What if nobody owns more than 25%? Because you could have that to where you have 4 partners, nobody owns over 25%. They're saying somebody has to be on here and exercise substantial control. You'll have to go to the substantial control section to see if you are that person or somebody else in your organization is. Here's where it gets tricky, and if there's any question, consult your attorney. That's going to be the answer on a lot of this stuff, is consult your attorney. What is substantial control? That's somebody who exercises substantial control over a company in 4 different ways. That could be a senior officer, think president, vice president, treasurer, chief financial officer, COO. I know a lot of our small businesses don't have all those offices. This thing's really written to target small business, but written in a way to focus on big business. It's kind of goofy, but it is what it is. If you have the ability to appoint or remove an officer, so maybe you're not even an officer, but you have the authority to do that. That can make you a BOI person that has to be listed. An important decision maker. This is where it gets tricky. What if you're just a manager, but you're making big decisions on contracts and things of that nature? That could make you a beneficial owner, even though you have no ownership in this business. So these are where it gets tricky. And if you get into some of these, like I said earlier, you may have to consult with an attorney to see, is the law talking about me? And truly, until we have some court cases, we're just going to have to do the best and hope that we don't get penalized for being wrong. But like I said, get your attorney, make sure you got this right. And then, of course, any other form of substantial control. What does that mean? So it's very vague, but I want to hit you with the high stuff. Really, are you a big decision maker? Do you make decisions in this company? If you do make major decisions, you need to take the time to go through this FAQ and also the business guide and see if that's you. And then if it's still not clear, consult your attorney. What are important decisions? Not going to waste your time on that. If you're there, you need to look at this. We'll keep moving. I'm going to jump forward to H1. This is kind of important, I think. So let's say you've complied. You got everything done by January 1st of this year. Oh, that brings up another point. January 1st of 2025 is for companies that existed before January 1st of 24. Okay? The companies that existed before this year of 24, they're due January 1st of 25. If you started your company in 24, remember, LLC is corporations, S corporations, you had 90 days to file your report. So if you set up your entity January, February, March, April, May, June, even July, I think at this point, and you haven't done this yet, you are now subject to penalties. You're out of compliance. Get with your attorney. Get this done right away. And my gut says they're going to waive it, but there's no precedent yet. We don't know. Get this filed. Don't play around with this. The penalties are excessive. Like, think about that. $600 times 30 days, $18,000 a month if I just did that math right. If I didn't have a calculator. Leave me alone. But you get my point. It's a lot. So if your entity started this year, you're already out of time. Get after it. So I want to make sure I make that very clear. But let's say you did comply. You've done everything. Unfortunately, your responsibility doesn't end there. This thing, at least for now, is going on and on and on and on forever. So if any of the information changes, you only have 30 days to get the report updated, which means you basically have to file a new report. They don't give you, at least at this point, option to go in and just change one thing. You got to redo the whole report. But you only have 30 days. If you miss that 30 days, guess what? That same $600 penalty per day starts rolling up. And if they think you didn't update it willfully, which how do you prove that? We don't know. $10,000, 2 years in prison. This doesn't have anything to do with whether you're laundering money or not. This is just purely because you didn't do your report on time. Big stuff here. Okay, let's move forward. H2. What are some likely triggers? And this is, I think, important. Any change to the information reported for the reporting company, such as registering a new name. Maybe you changed your company name. Got to file this report. Maybe you brought in a new partner. Maybe a partner left. Maybe you just hired a new CEO who isn't an owner at all. Or maybe a different owner is a CEO. A sale that changes. Maybe you were a 20% owner and you bought out another 6% from one of the other owners. You're now greater than 25%. We got to go update the report. And think about this from your perspective as a person running this company. You have to keep track of anybody who's a beneficial owner and make sure, did they move? Anytime they move, you've only got 30 days to update that. Did they update their driver's license? That could cause us to have to do it. I mean, you got to worry about every time somebody gets their driver's license updated. At this point, it looks like you do. So, and if you miss it, 30 days, penalties. Okay, now, once again, I want to reference this. It's FinCEN Small Entity Compliance Guide. It goes over more of these triggers and how to go through it. I can't cover all that in the video. It'd be boring. You get into this, you're just going to have to look at it or rely on a professional to help you. But in the end, it's your responsibility. You're going to have to provide all the information to make sure it's right. So make sure you're working with somebody who is reputable, because these penalties are insane. What happens if you don't get it done? They're saying if you get it corrected within 90 days, they may waive penalties. What may waive penalties mean? Means if they had a bad day, they won't? We don't know. That's just what it says. What penalties do you face? Already covered that. Who can be held liable? Anybody who files this report and has taken that responsibility can be held liable, especially if you're the one filing the report and you knew the information was not accurate. This is not something we can play around with. Crazy, crazy. My hope, and that's all I want to go through on that side. To be honest, my hope is that they get some sense, and when Congress gets back together and we get through all this, who knows, it may not happen now till next year with, I guess we're going to be in a lame duck session now. I'm hopeful that they'll use some common sense and say 30 days is ridiculous. Maybe we could move it to, I would like to see it once a year. Kind of do it the same time you do your tax return, update FinCEN with any changes. That's reasonable. That makes sense. That would be much easier to administer. Right now, there's not even a way to take yourself off of it if at some point it changes. There's only a way to add. So there's a lot in here that's just not really, in my opinion, ready for prime time. But they didn't ask my opinion. Here we are. So that's the gist of it. So if you're one of our clients, I'm going to send something out to you letting you know that we do now have an option and we can help you with this. There will be a fee, of course. There's a lot of liability here, and there's just work we got to do to make sure this is right to protect you and to protect us, if I'm being honest. So want to take care of you guys. I told you to wait until we knew we had to. At this point, we only got a month and a half left. We have to. We got to get this done. Like I said, you can go do it yourself on FinCEN's website, but if not, I will be sending out a link in the next week, hopefully, that will allow you to start submitting information to us and say you want us to take care of it, and we will do that. Now, out there in YouTube land, sorry, that's not you. I can't do this for everybody. I don't want to do this for everybody, but I do want to take care of those people that I'm working with currently and make sure that you're taken care of. So we were going to do that for you, just like I said I would. We just had to take care of some stuff from legal perspective, insurance perspective, all these other things to make sure that we're doing the right thing. And we also were hopeful they'd make it go away. Well, they didn't. So here we are. So once again, glad to work with you guys. Pay attention to this, because over the next few weeks, as we get into year end, I'll be dropping hopefully quite a few more videos on year end planning and things that could really help you. And so I'll probably drop several, top 5, top 10 list of things that you should be thinking about over the next 45 days to 60 days as we wrap up the year. So with that, we will talk to you soon.